How's it going, guys? Eric here from Pedal to the Metal Fitness. A little bit of a component trade I'm going to try today. I've got this very cool ENVE carbon downhill handlebar on my downhill bike, and I really want to try it on my enduro bike, which is my Rocky Mountain Altitude, which is right over there. And both bikes right now have 800 mil bars. I really like the really wide bar. So nothing's going to change as far as the width or anything like that, but I want to see if I do feel a difference between the alloy and the carbon bar. I definitely felt it on this bike, so I'm curious as to how it will perform on my Rocky Mountain. So I'm going to go ahead and swap them. And kind of my sort of plan is, if I do like the carbon bar on the Rocky Mountain, I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to get a riser bar for this, because what I've been doing with this bike, believe it or not, as you can see, I've got a dropper post which turns a few heads when I would take this thing to trails and stuff. Some guys talk about turning their enduro bike into a miniature downhill bike. I was kind of doing the opposite, turning my downhill bike into an oversized enduro bike. But I've been getting into enduro racing, so that's why I got a proper bike. So what I think I might do is let my M16 here be the thoroughbred downhill bike that it deserves to be, and I'll take the dropper off and put a riser bar on it so it's really set up for the big steep stuff, and use my enduro bike for enduro racing. Right, so I took both handlebars off of both bikes, and if you've ever done this, it's a little weird looking at two bikes that are basically headless. So I got the ENVE bar cleaned up right here. If you've never installed especially a carbon handlebar, one thing that's really, really important is this stuff. Fiber grip. It's like a gel that has little particles in it that help grip the bar. Any carbon component, really, especially if you're gonna anything that's gonna be clamped. And on top of that, you need one of these torque wrench. You know, carbon's very fussy, so you got to make sure you're torquing only up to what the specs say. In the case of the ENVE downhill bar, it's 5.5 Newton meters. My torque wrench actually goes to 5.1 specifically, so that's what I set it for. So I figured I got a little margin for error. And also, you want to make sure you torque it up evenly with when you put your plate on. There are 4 bolts. Line that bolt plate up nice and straight, so it's not like uneven pressure going on the bar, because you don't want to crush it, and because that could be about a $200 mistake. Alright, so I got the bar installed, and I got it down off the stand here. I'm just going to roll it up a little bit, check my roll, and also check a little bit the side to side. I just hand tightened everything just to hold everything in place. Didn't tighten anything down yet. So what I'm going to do next is just get a little bit of torque on the bolts. Just use my Allen just enough to give it a little bit of hold. I'm not even really cranking down. It's just I'm just nipping it just a little bit. Kind of like the bar be up just a little bit. I used to have it rolled way back, and I was fine, but my front wheel was washing out on me a lot, so I got myself a little bit farther forward. So, but not crazy. All right, so got my torque wrench set. I'm just going to go ahead and set these bolts. So I'm going to go kind of in an X pattern. And I'm not even really going to I'm just going to give it like a quarter turn at a time on each one in an X pattern until the wrench clicks. And click. Alright, that is it. That is as far as you want to go as far as tightening down your stem bolts. Another thing to be aware of with these bars, at least in terms of the ENVE bars, you want to be aware of the width of your stem. So if you look down at the stem here, you can see there's actually a little bit of a reinforced area on the bar itself. That's where you want it to be clamped. You don't want to be using a stem that's any wider than that, because obviously out here it's not laid up to accept any clamping forces. My guess would be is thicker. It's laid up thicker in the center here. That would have to be confirmed by people at ENVE, but that's kind of how I understand how this works. There you have it. Looking pretty good. Everything torqued, clamped. You know, like I said, this bar has been working out really, really well for me on my downhill bike. So I'm hoping it'll work out well on this bike, and that means I can go get a riser bar for the downhill bike. And you know, boys with toys, as they say. Been having some trouble with my shifting, and I thought I had a bad derailleur, maybe a bent derailleur hanger, a bad cable. I'm going through all sorts of different stuff, but I completely overlooked the obvious. Bad chain. Check this out. Threw this on there. Oops. Boom. 0.75 inches. And so this chain is shot. So fortunately there's a bike shop on the way to the trail, so I'm gonna just grab a chain there. Need a couple other things anyway, so you know, support your local bike shop. And yeah, don't let your chains go too long. I'm a little mad at myself for letting this go as far as I did. Alright, so I just finished up a ride with the ENVE DH bar on my Rocky Mountain altitude. And I gotta say, my initial impression is very familiar in terms of like the reason why I like my M16 so much, and that familiar cockpit feel, if you will, came out when I put this bar. Well, it makes sense because it's the same bar, but you know, different components can behave differently on different bikes. So personally, I really like it. I know some people are a little reticent about putting carbon components on their bikes, or even riding carbon frames in general. I, so far, have had nothing but good luck, especially with the handlebar. So actually, I look forward to getting that riser bar for the M16, and that bike's going to be a lot of fun to ride this summer at Snow Summit, I'm sure. And you know, if I get the funds, I'd love to get some ENVE wheels at some point. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on that bar. You know, if you're considering it, it's definitely a solid upgrade. So I would say go ahead and give it a shot, or at the very least try riding a friend's bike that has these components on there, so you can kind of get an idea. You know, other things I noticed too, with the alloy bar, I felt I was getting a bit beat up. You know, with I don't know, my shoulder's tired, my wrists are tired, and I don't feel that right now. I just did about a 13 or so mile ride, and I don't have the same kind of fatigue I did on the same ride with the alloy bar. So I don't know if that's something with the flexibility of the bar, you know, how stiff aluminum is compared to carbon, the way the carbon's laid up. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a metallurgist. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy who rides bikes a lot, and that's just something I noticed. So I just figured I'd pass that on, and you can use this as if you're considering a bar. Hopefully, you can use this as some information to help you make your choice.